Currently 6:20 a.m. Such a self-indulgent writing routine. Like what a way to live. Getting into the pointy end of the story. 45 minutes to just lay there and think. 5 hours a day doing writing work. Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be doing another author routine attempt. What? There's so much dust in the air. It's like really distracting me. We're going to be doing another author routine attempt today. And today the author whose routine we're going to be attempting is Ursula K. Le Guin. So if you're familiar with this series that I've been doing, I've been trying out various author routines. We started with Haruki Murakami, we did Virginia Woolf, we've done Neil Gaiman and Brandon Sanderson. We're moving on to Ursula K. Le Guin today, which is a very highly requested routine for me to try out. If you're new to this channel, hello, my name is Christy. I am a writer and content creator, and I'm currently working on a fantasy novel. I'm in the process of writing it. I'm currently working on draft 3, and that's what I'm going to be working on in this video while I attempt Ursula K. Le Guin's routine. Who was Ursula K. Le Guin? Born on October 21st, 1929, Ursula K. Le Guin was a writer of speculative fiction, well known for her works of science fiction and fantasy.
What sort of a writer would you say you are?
A book writer.
A book writer.
I write so many different kinds of things. I was first published as a poet. And then as short stories and then novels.
Her most popular series, The Wizard of Earthsea Cycle, began in 1968 and is believed by many to be the first wizard school novel. It is a coming-of-age story about a young wizard whose name is Ged. And in addition to writing her novels of science fiction and fantasy, Ursula K. Le Guin is also well known as a short story writer. One of her really prolific short stories that she wrote is called The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas, and I love this story because it is this fascinating tale. It has a really interesting narrative voice. The style of it is really cool, and it's about a utopian city, but there's a kind of a dark undertone there. Ursula K. Le Guin wrote 20 novels, and very sadly she passed away in 2018. Now that we know about Ursula K. Le Guin's life and who she was and some of the things that she worked on, what was her writing routine? This is actually one of the very first writing routines I remember stumbling across and becoming fascinated by. I remember reading this when I was about 16. I think I found it on Tumblr originally. So I've been aware of Ursula K. Le Guin's writing routine long before I was aware of her actual work. To kick off with, at 5:30 a.m, wake up and lie there and think. 6:15. Get up and eat breakfast lots. I look forward to that. That will be good. 7:15 a.m. Get to work writing. Noon, lunch. So we have a decent stretch of writing here for the morning period. 1 to 3 p.m. reading, music. 3 to 5 p.m. correspondence, maybe house cleaning. If I schedule 3 to 5 p.m. for me to actually respond to all of the messages I have that I haven't responded to yet, that might be a good thing for me. 5 to 8 p.m. make dinner and eat it. I think that's a really long time to be making dinner, but I'm okay with it. After 8 p.m. I tend to be very stupid and we won't talk about this. So I guess that means that she tends to stay up late. That's how I've always interpreted it. And so that's what I'm essentially going to be doing over the next 3 days. I'm going to start off by getting up at 5:30. Wish me luck. I'm going to do my best. Morning. It is currently 6:20 a.m. I got up, I very quickly had a shower. Here we are. So the first thing on I almost said Neil Gaiman then, my brain hasn't woken up yet. The first thing on Ursula K. Le Guin's morning routine, other than waking up and just lying there in the dark with nothing but her own thoughts for company, is she makes herself breakfast. And parenthetically, we know that it's lots of breakfast. Now normally, as many of you guys would know if you've been here for a while, I am a creature of habit. I like having oatmeal. But for the sake of this video, for having lots of breakfast, we're going to be making something a little bit fancier today. We're going to be making eggs on toast, which I have made quite a few times before. Okay, maybe it's not that fancy, but like we're putting in effort. This looks bougie as heck, but it was genuinely the cheapest ham in the shop. It was on sale and nothing else was cheaper, so. We also have tomato and an avocado. This is the shepherd avocado though, which is like a C tier genre of avocado, but it was the only one we had. So we're making it work. We're gonna make something fun for breakfast. So this is my breakfast lots. It's eggs on toast. It's eggs on toast, but it's fancy eggs on toast. Although I do feel quite accomplished having gotten up this early and made this nice of a breakfast for myself. So I'm going to eat this. It is currently 10 to 7 in the morning. The sun is still rising. It's very pretty, and I'm gonna enjoy my breakfast for a little bit before I start writing at 7:15. I'm gonna start working for today. I'm gonna be working until noon. How I'm going in terms of tiredness was responsible. I went to bed earlier to try and stave off some of the tiredness, but I do feel like I've had a nice slow morning and that I've been able to collect my thoughts, and now I'm gonna sit down for a decent spurt of writing. How many hours of writing do we have? So 5 hours, not quite 5 hours. Getting into the pointy end of the story, lots of stuff has been happening. I am just plugging away at editing draft 3 of this book. A lot of the ending has to be rewritten, but I'm gonna do my best. So let's sit here and do some writing until noon. It is now noon and I'm all done with writing for today. It's going a little slowly, mostly because I'm at another quite challenging part of the story. However, in terms of waking up at this particular time, I feel like this is a lot more achievable than the Haruki Murakami 4 a.m. early morning routine. It took me a little bit to get going this morning in terms of my concentration. I enjoyed my writing session today. It felt like a really good, solid writing session. The rest of the day is going to be pretty chill. It's going to be like reading and eating and making food, so it's going to be a lovely time. I'm going to go make some lunch now. Between the hours of 1 p.m. and 3 p.m, Ursula K. Guin tended to read or listen to music. Here's like an interest, maybe this is like a generational thing. I can't really imagine just listening to music, like literally just like sitting there and doing nothing but listening to music. And don't get me wrong, I love music. I get really obsessive with particular kinds of bands and music, and I spend a lot of time listening to music, and so I consider myself to be like a really big music lover. But I just think that if I were to just like sit down for 2 hours listening to music and doing nothing, like I think that's not enough stuff for me to do. I think I would need to be doing something with my hands, knitting, or like, so there would need to be something. Like if I were just listening to music, I'd need to be drawing. Rather than just listening to music for 3 hours, we're going to be reading this book. So this is Piranesi. I think it's actually pronounced Piranesi, which is the way that Susanna Clarke, who is the author, pronounces it, so we should probably listen to her. I've already read this book. This is going to be a reread for me. I adore this book, and this is what we're going to be reading today. Good morning, guys. It is again 7:15 a.m. I think the thing that I'm struggling the most with so far in this routine, like this is a pretty reasonable time to wake up, like this is fine. It's a bit earlier than normal for me, but it's fine, is the 45 minutes to just like lay there in the dark and think, which I think is a wonderful introspective thing to do if you need to make time to be introspective. Lying there for 45 minutes is incredibly boring. Obviously I can't go on my phone because Ursula K wouldn't have gone on a phone. And B, I just fall back to sleep, and so I have to set alarms to wake myself up again because I know I'm just gonna fall back to sleep. So I had another morning where I was just like laying there thinking, trying to think about the story, what I was gonna be working on today, and just kept dozing, and otherwise it just felt a little bit dull, to be honest. I can't remember if I updated you guys on where I got to in my last writing session, but currently working on chapter 27. I realized that maybe there's a couple of things in chapter 26 I have to go back and fiddle around with, which is really annoying. But the thing with editing stories like this is that the process isn't necessarily linear. I started off with this draft at I think 117,000 words. I'm trying to cut it down as much as possible in this draft, and so the word count will go up and it will go down a little bit, but like overall I know I'm making progress. Having to change a lot of the ending and problem solving a lot of things, and that problem solving of, okay, I've got this problem, how do I fix this thing? That's what takes a lot of time to edit, because it's not about just writing, it's about taking all of these elements, all of the characters, all of the narrative threads, and weaving them together in a slightly different way to achieve your goals, and not dropping any of the threads, because obviously you can't create plot holes. So getting to this part of the story has been really tough. My progress is slowing down, which is a little bit frustrating, but we are going to keep writing today. We've got another 5-ish hours of writing work ahead of us. Now noon, which means it's time for me to stop writing, to put down my pen, like metaphorically, obviously I'm using a keyboard, and go get some lunch. I'm really excited to stop writing today because it's been a bit of a slow day. We've had roughly 10 hours of writing so far in this author routine attempt writing vlog video. Some days I make really good progress, and other days it's just slow going and it feels really slow. There's a certain amount of work you need to do on each draft, and it's just not linear, basically. And so my word count has shrunk a little bit. That's great. That's what we're aiming for with this draft of the story, fleshing out the story, polishing it, and reducing the word count. This is such a self-indulgent writing routine. Like what a way to live, having lunch for an hour and then 3 hours of reading and then 2 hours for correspondence and house cleaning. If I had 2 hours a day every day to clean my house, it wouldn't look like this. So I'm gonna go get some lunch and then I'm gonna go back to reading. Now it's time for the reading portion. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna read, and I'm gonna pleasantly just chill out and do this. I'm really enjoying this routine because there's quite a big emphasis on doing stuff that's fun and easy, like thinking. Thinking's not always fun or easy, but doing things like eating and cleaning and just, it's just a pretty chill routine. Like I'm enjoying it. Like if this was the way I live, generally I feel like I'd be pretty happy. However, I've got too much work to do. Like it's just not realistic. Anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling. Let's get back to reading. Hello, it is currently 10 a.m. and we're just about halfway through the final writing session of this author routine attempt. It's been slow going. There's been a lot of things where I've had to go back to earlier points in the story and fiddle around with things. I'm probably going to film a more in-depth video where I take you guys through like editing the end of Project Teacup. I think that's something I want to make because I haven't really been able to go in depth into what I'm working on in this video. Otherwise it would just be, this would be a very, very long video if I did that. I'm plugging away. I'm excited tomorrow to not have to get up at 5:30 a.m. and to sit there and think. That really has been quite a challenge for me throughout this particular routine. I've really struggled with that. There are other parts of this routine that I'm quite enjoying though. I am enjoying having the 3 hours of dedicated reading time per day. I managed to finish Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I read half of it on the first day and the second half on the second day. And then I've also read a whole chunk of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell as well. These books are rereads for me. I feel like because I'm so stuck into this part of the story, my brain is so entrenched. I don't want to read anything new this week. I just want to reread books I already know and love and kind of take it easy with that. I don't know, I'm funny. I go up and down with reading. Like if I have a really, really big writing week, sometimes I find it difficult to read books, and other weeks when I'm really stressed with writing stuff and I'm working really hard, I desperately want to read. So it's like, it's all over the place for me. We're almost done with the final writing session of this author routine attempt. In the end, how did I find Ursula K. Le Guin's writing routine? Overall, it felt like quite a calm, mindful, not self-indulgent in a negative way, but like a routine that really nourishes the self, like spending a lot of time emphasizing cooking and making good food and cleaning your space and reading and like nourishing your brain and nourishing the space around you. I thought it was a really lovely routine, and I think that that would be a really lovely way to live if that was your everyday reality. Of course, this is only the reality for someone who is making loads and loads and loads of money from their writing, and so they're enabled to spend 5 hours a day doing writing work, and then they don't have any other commitments. They don't have to participate in any other forms of labor in order to pay their rent and sustain their lifestyle. Of course, I've been doing the writing routines of full-time writers the whole way through this series, but I think this routine really hit home for me how lucky some writers generally are. Of course, I'm trying out this routine, but it's like I take 3 days out of my normal work life in order to try out what it's like to live like Ursula K. Le Guin for 3 days. So what did I learn from this routine? Number one, I think that it is such a waste of time to get up at 5:30 a.m. and think for 45 minutes. I think this would be really beneficial for a lot of people. I think if you're really stressed and you want to meditate and this is your form of meditation, I think it's wonderful. But for me, a person whose brain works the way my brain works, like I'm very prone to daydreaming, to being in the middle of a task and then just going down a thought spiral, indulging in 45 minutes of just like deep thinking. It's like, well, I spend my whole day battling against doing just that, and so for me personally, I don't love the 45 minutes of thinking. The second thing I learned is that writing at 7:15 is a really lovely time to start writing. It's quite early in the morning, so it feels like there's no one else awake, although I live in a city, so there's always people awake, but like it feels like a really quiet, soft time to begin work. I love seeing the pink sky, so I like the idea of starting work at 7:15. However, getting up at 5:30 in order to do that is not ideal for me personally. I also love the routine of having dedicated time to read every day. If you're a writer, if you're a full-time writer, this is your entire job. Your whole job is about perfecting your craft and writing better stories. I think creating and cultivating a consistent reading routine is really useful and really important. I think I would read more books if I had this. The way I read books is sporadic and haphazard, and sometimes I binge read and sometimes I don't read for a while. And overall, I really enjoyed this routine. I think it was wonderful. It wasn't the most productive of the routines, but I think in part because I had a bit of a tricky few days with writing. I'm at a part of the novel I'm working on where things are slowing down a little bit and I have a lot of problem solving to do, and I'm changing a lot of the ending, and I have to pick up the threads and weave them through in different ways, and that was a fun little dance move. Is it annoying that I talk with my hands all the time? I physically don't know a different way. It was great when I was a teacher in Japan because most of what I was trying to explain to the kids was just like me signing like English words because they obviously couldn't understand most of what I was saying. What was I talking about? Anyway, I think that this was a lovely routine. I think if you lived like this really kind of simple existence when you're not doing a lot of things that are really overstimulating, you know, taking time to be introspective, taking time to listen to music, to read, to clean your space, I think it's a very slow and calm and mindful way to live. And I think if you lived like this, it would be so lovely. Is it realistic for basically any of us? No, no, it's not. I mean, if you were lucky enough to only have 5 hours of work per day and that kind of work was your biggest passion in life, I think it would be a wonderful way to live. However, not realistic for most of us. I was kind of keenly aware all day how much time I was taking for leisure stuff when in actuality I had a lot of like pressing work things I had to do, but like I do my best when I do these routines to do them as authentically as I can and to not do my other work while I'm doing the writing routines so I can properly try them out. I'm thinking for the next writing routine I want to do, I would like to try out the routine of a writer who's working full-time in addition to writing, because this is the experience that most writers have. I've spoken about this quite a bit, that on average in Australia at least, the average income for a writer is like $13,000 a year. Most writers are not making a full-time income off of their writing, they have other jobs. So I'm thinking of maybe trying out the writing routine of Octavia E. Butler. I know that one of her writing routines is a routine that she had while she was working full-time, so if you want to see that, please let me know, or if you have any other suggestions of other authors who wrote in addition to working full-time, please let me know. An enormous thank you to everyone over on Patreon for supporting my channel. Over on Patreon we have a whole bunch of lovely bonus content, bonus videos, we have a book club and a Discord server and so many things over there. So if you'd like to support my channel or if you want bonus content from me, please feel free to check out Patreon. Take care everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.